Okay, the hands are going to be the little intricate, little bit difficult part of it. We've got all of these hand bones to put in. Looking at it, we got 3 bones per finger. And it starts with the proximal, intermediate, and the distal. So I just think of proximal as the first one. We got the intermediate one, and we got the one in the distance, the distal. So the prime, the primera, the first one, intermediate, and the distance. And for each finger, we got 3 of those. So that means we're going to be having 15 bones. And the bone position of these really are just look at your hand and look at where the joints are positioned at. You want let's see. Looking at my hand on just one finger, you got this is going to be the proximal joint right here where that rotation occurs. And then you got the intermediate, which is this one, which is where that rotation occurs. And then the distal is this one. And of course, that is where a little bit of bend happens, but not a lot. The distal doesn't bend near as much as the intermediate does. So that's where the position of those joints need to be at. To position these, I'm going to keep it in perspective, and I'm going to go to joint. I'm going to make sure that projected centering is turned on. And here we go. Let's make the hand. The first one that I like to do is the thumb. It's kind of the most difficult or weird one. Here the proximal is there. You might want to I guess I should show an image of the hand, but your hand rotates. You could even see my bone right here, and it's rotating way back here, almost at my wrist location where I'm pointing. You can see there's a rotation occurring on my thumb right there. So on the thumb, you might want to use this spot for the first bone, and then this spot for the second bone, and this for the third bone. So that spot on this model is basically right about here. And the second bone is about here, and the third is here. Of course, I'm clicking kind of on these geometry lines. And now I'm going to position these joints. The first one's probably okay. I'm going to press F for focus so I can rotate around it better. The first one looks okay. The second one looks okay. Maybe a little bit more towards where that bone is actually located. And again, while you're doing this, look at your own hands to see where these bones should be positioned at. That's probably fine. So let's get these named and out of the way. I'm just going to copy thumb and paste that into here. And then the way I want to name these is, let's see, thumb. I use 3 letters to position the finger: the pro, the INT, or the DIS. So the pro is the first, the INT is the middle, and the DIS is the last one. So we got thumb pro left, thumb int left, thumb dis left. So on this, we're just going to keep these named at thumb for now. Moving on to the index finger create joints tool. We want to rotate about here. Here and here. Alright, and I'm going to clear my selection so I can create another one. We're going to go here, here, and here. Alright, clear that selection. New joints. Here, here, and about right there. One more time, clear that selection. Make a new joint. Here, here, and here. Alright, let's make sure these are positioned correctly. I can also name them. This is the index. Now, I'm not going to get so perfect in this tutorial, but that's you could definitely inspect your position of the bone, make sure that it's good. With projected centering and this, the size of these fingers, I'm just going to go ahead and say that's okay and move on with the tutorial. We've got the bones placed in both hands because the joints had the symmetry option turned on. So we just need to name the rest of these. And before I name them, I'm actually going to put them into their position, because if I name this thumb and then I name the other thumb, it won't let me because there's already one called thumb. But if they're a child of the hand, then it will let me. So I'm going to go to spine, and we got the thumb left, and then we got the index left. It's got to be every other one. Alright. And I want to make those a child of this, but I'm remembering that I'm going to have to delete all the symmetry constraints. Okay, so now that the symmetry constraints are gone, I can move the thumb left. Every other one here should be the left fingers, and I'm going to middle click, drop those onto hand left. And then these ones I'm going to middle click, drop onto hand right. And now I'm going to name them. It's going to be easier with them set up like this, though, because I could just name them with all of the same name. Here we go. Thumb, thumb, thumb. Index, index, index. And I'm going to put index down here. And then after that, if we look at Unity's naming, they call the next one middle, ring, little. So we're going to say middle, and then we got the ring. And then we got the little. Alright, the rest of this is pretty easy because what I can do is we need to say the name of the finger, what position it is, and then whether it's the right or the left hand. So on this one, and this one, and this one, all of the root fingers, I'm going to go to comma at rename and say add a suffix of the pro for proximal. And then the next ones are going to get the int for the intermediate. So every finger under pro is going to get selected. And we're going to add an int. And then the last finger is going to get selected. And that one's going to get a dis for distal. Alright, the next part is to get all of the thumb on the left, and we're going to add a suffix of left. And all of the fingers on the right, and give them a suffix of right. And all of our fingers are named. Now we need to go to the, we'll open up the left hand and let's go to here. So we don't have a finger base. That's the finger base is really the hands node. But we do need to assign what Maya calls them is thumb 1, thumb 2, thumb 3. So I'm going to start with the here, and I'm going to right click assign selected bone, down arrow, right click assign selected bone, down arrow, right click align. I can't even say it. Let me try again. Right click assign a selected bone, down arrow, right click assign selected bone, down arrow, right click assign selected bone. Okay, I got all the hand bones assigned, and it says validation status is okay. So I'm going to go back to full body view, and the right hand should already be populated because Maya matches that up for us. So we have the characterization is valid, and at this time I'm going to save this skeleton definition. Just in case I ever wanted to reload this. And what this would be, I guess I could call this template name as I'll just call it Mechanum01. And there we go. So I could load this up. And what that means is next time I rig a character by hand like this, I could just rig them out. And as long as it has the same bone structure as this, just like we've seen here, as long as it has this structure, I could just say load a character definition, and it will automatically apply all these bone settings. So I never have to assign the bones again. So the last part of this that we have to check is the joint orientation. So I'm going to go to the shoulder right and get down to the hands. I'm going to say hand left, hand right, select hierarchy, and joint orient. Let's show the axis. Alright, now the hands, I just want them to all be the same direction. In fact, if you look at the human IK model, let's go to the joint orient and show all the axis. If we select hierarchy, show axis, okay. You're going to notice that the default skeleton that gets created by Maya has Z forward, X to the right, Y up on all of the bones. And when it comes to rotating the two shoulders, like I had shown in the previous video, if we go into the spine, we take a look at the right and the left shoulder, and we rotate those. They just rotate exactly the same. And that's probably fine because we're going to be using a control rig to animate and move the character. So it's kind of up to you how you want to do the joint orients on the fingers. But what I'm going to do here is aim axis X, up axis Y, world up is Y, orient joints. And with that, we should have Y going up, Z is going forward, and X is going to the right. So according to the human IK skeleton, everything should have Z forward, Y up, X to the right. So we'll try to get that into this model. And in order to achieve that, if we just do aim axis X, up Y, and world up direction Y, and hit orient joints, we'll see that it kind of works. These ones are right. These ones are backwards. The feet are not right. So we'll have to modify that for each arm. Let's come through the hips, through the head. So I'm going to hide everything. And let's just show the hips through the head. And show axis. Hide axis. It looks like we still have to hide. There we go. I want the hips through the head, show the axis. Okay. We've got a funny orientation here again. So for the hips and the spine selected, I'm setting the aim axis to Y, up axis to Y, and the world up direction to Y. And I'm saying orient joints. And that's setting the Z forward, X to the right, Y going up. Let's try to set that to the chest, neck, and head. There we go. So we've got Z forward, Y up, X to the right. And I'm going to hide the axis on all of those. Let's go into the left arm. And here we have Z forward, Y up, X to the right. The only problem in here is the wrist. I see the wrist, and this is a common problem. So what I'm going to do is go to the hand, and I can see that it has a real funny joint orientation, whereas the lower arm is zeroed out, and I want to zero this out, but that's going to mess up the hand. So what I'm going to do here is drag the hand out. Whoops. Drag the fingers out. Go to the hand set a joint orientation of 0, 0, 0, and then let's bring those fingers back in. And now that joint doesn't have the weird problems. And I believe everything is Y up, Z forward, and X to the right. Uh-oh. We're going to have to try this again. I had to Control Z back. Alright, get all the fingers out. Reset the joint orientation on the hand. Bring the fingers back in. Look at the hand. We're still zeroed. Okay. Let's hide everything that's on the left arm and move on to the right shoulder. Select hierarchy, show axis. We missed the hand. Shoulder left, select hierarchy, hide axis. Okay. Now this one, we should be close to the same as the other arm, which is X, which is a normal world orientation. Aim axis of X, up axis of Y, and world up of Y. And if we set that to the left arm, it's backwards. So we could say, first of all, make sure we have the shoulder right hierarchy selected. I'll expand it so I can see what I'm working with. So we got the X, Y, and the world up Y. I'm going to hit orient joints. And you'll see that the Z is facing backwards on the left arm. Or on the right arm. So we just have to hit reverse on the aim axis and hit orient joints. And now the Z is going to be facing forward on that arm. The Y is going to be going up. And the X will be pointing to the right. And of course we have the wrist problem right down here. So I'm going to go to the select all of the fingers. And get those off of the hand. And on the hand right, we need to give it a 0, 0, 0. There we go. And then we'll bring the fingers right back onto the hand. And now looking at the hand, we got 0, 0, 0. The lower arm, 0, 0, 0. Upper arm, 0, 0, 0. Now I do want to show real quick that on human IK, if you move if these two aren't lined up, and I think it's actually the shoulder, all the way into the shoulder, but if the shoulder or the upper arm, I think it's the upper arm and this have to line up. But we could move the elbow a little bit. So on the elbow, if I press W and move this, I didn't want to move it like that. Move it back a little bit. You'll see that we get the error, it's not lined up. Now, if I move the pivot, so I say edit pivot of the elbow, that lets you move the joint without moving the children. and I were to move the elbow back here, there's still no problem with human IK. So it allows you to actually move that joint back into a nice position where the elbow would be. So I think I'll do that on this model on the upper arm right. Let's see, lower arm right, and we want the lower arm left. I'm going to say edit pivot, and then I'm going to move I could just look at one of them here, and I just want to move it in this axis a little bit back into the elbow area, maybe right in the middle of this triangle. So that's something you don't have to do because the default Maya skeleton is completely straight. But depending on your character, you may move the elbows back. It's just this hand position and this wrist position that have to be lined up. Okay, and we need to check the orientation of the legs. So we're going to go down into select both of those and do a show axis. Well, select hierarchy, show axis. And we need to have the Z going forward and the Y going up. That's not what we got. So I'm going to try to do that right here. But for the legs, okay, on the legs you want to set a aim axis Y, up axis Y, world up Z, and reverse reverse. That allowed the Y axis to go up on the legs, X to the right, Z forward. That's for the knees, but I see for the feet it's not correct. So we're going to have to come down to the feet. Okay, so on the 2 feet, I'm going to select the toes left, the foot right, and the toes right. I'm going to set the aim axis to Z, the up axis to Y, and the world up to Z. And I'm going to hit orient joints, and that's going to get it so that the Y is going up, the X is going to the right, and the Z is going forward. So now if I select the entire model and I show the axis, I should see that my model looks basically the same as the default Maya skeleton, where the Z is going forward, the Y is going up, and the X is going to the right. Okay, actually I can hide all those joints now that they're oriented correctly, and I'm ready to save my project because after this we have to do the binding the pose and then weight painting. See you guys in the next video.